Jennifer, time check? My watch may be a little off. 5:27. All right, we have a few minutes. All right, I think we're ready to go. All right. Hey, welcome everyone to the 2018 Excellence in Journalism Annual Conference. I'm Rebecca Baker, National President of SPJ. The Annual Convention of Delegates, as many of you know, is the supreme legislative body of the Society of Professional Journalists. Delegates to this convention are charged with the responsibility of providing direction for the society as it seeks to serve the best interests of its members and all of journalism. In 2011, delegates to the National Convention in New Orleans approved a bylaws change that transformed the way SPJ elects members of its national board. In the past, candidates were selected by chapter delegates. Now, elections are inclusive of all members. One member, one vote. But the Society's processes for bylaws amendments and resolutions have not changed. The main duties of the convention delegates are to consider important resolutions and bylaws changes, because these are issues that are going to govern SPJ and help set its agenda for years to come. The bylaws of the Society require that the business meetings of the Society be run by Robert's Rules of Order. In interpreting those rules both today and during our closing business meeting, I'll be assisted by our acting parliamentarian, Dave Carlson. Thank you, Dave. As we get started today, I'd like to review the convention's voting procedures for bylaws amendments and resolutions. Voting is done by chapter and regional delegates. Each chapter, in good standing with the national organization, receives votes based on one vote for each 50 chapter members or fraction thereof. Regional delegates that represent unaffiliated members in each region are calculated based on one vote for each 50 members or fraction thereof. Each delegate has been given a voting card with the number of votes assigned to that specific delegate by his or her chapter. If any delegate did not receive a voting card or has a question about their status, see Carolyn Escobar, our new manager of membership and chapters. You'll be needing your voting card during our next business meeting on Saturday. At this time, I will present the nominees for the 2018-2019 Board of Directors of the Society. You can read their full bios at SPJ's Election Central, which you can find out on the front page of spj.org. or through a direct link in the EIJ18 app under the EIJ18 Information tab, or at the bottom of the SPJ Business Meeting schedule in the Schedule view. For President-elect, we have one candidate, Patty Gallagher-Newberry. For Secretary-Treasurer, we have two candidates, Matt Hall and Narissa Young. For at-large director of the Society, this year, 4 at-large directors will be elected to the board. 2 will serve for 2 years, and 2 will serve for 1 year. The candidates running for a 2-year term are Tess Fox, Mike Riley, Robin Sherman, and Mercedes Vigon. The 2 candidates running for a 1-year term are Michael Savino and Yvette Walker. This year, 1 region will hold an election for a new director via an electronic ballot. Don Myers is running to fulfill the last year of the Region 10 director term. He was appointed to fill the Region 10 director vacancy earlier this year, and you can learn more about him from information posted on SPJ's Election Central, which is accessible through spj.org or the EIJ18 app. In accordance with SPJ bylaws, all members of the society in good standing at the date and time of balloting begins are eligible to vote for officers and at-large directors. Members will receive an electronic ballot via email at the close of today's business session. So please vote and encourage all the other members you know to do as well. Last year, delegates voted to approve a resolution that would shrink the size of the SPJ board over the next 2 years. As part of that plan, the position of regional director is being phased off the board. The regions will be now led by regional coordinators who serve similar duties in a non-board capacity. 6 regions have candidates running for the position of regional director this year. The following names will appear on your ballot for electronic voting, but they will be designated as non-board positions. Region 1, Jane Primerano. Region 4, Paul Costu. Region 5, Amy Merrick. Region 7, Caitlin Mary Skaggs and Leo Wonkum. Region 8, Catherine Jones. Region 9, Ed Ott and Rhett Wilkinson. Those regional coordinator candidates in attendance have been encouraged to give speeches during Saturday's regional meetings. Do I have a motion to accept the committee's report of nominees? Okay. All right. Do I have a second? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Candidates in contested races and the president-elect candidate are encouraged to give a 3-minute speech. So we'll kick things off with a word from our president-elect candidate, Patty Gallagher-Newberry. Actually, why don't you come up here, Patty? Stairs are this way.
Good afternoon. I am Patty Newberry, and I am your sole candidate for president-elect for 2018 and 19. In the coming year, I look forward to working with Alex Tarquinio, our incoming president, with Allison McKenzie, our executive director, with members of the SPJ board, with our hardworking headquarters staff, and with SPJ leaders and members across the country to continue to improve your SPJ experience. My priorities in the year ahead include the following. Number 1, I will be serving as the SPJ point person for EIJ18, which will be in San Antonio, Texas, September 5 through 7 of next year. Related to that, and importantly, I'll be leading a review about our policies on conference sponsorship. My second priority will be leading efforts to create a strategic plan. Surprisingly, SPJ doesn't currently have a strategic plan. And this plan will lay out priorities for the society over a 3 to 5 year period, helping us determine what we do, what we don't do, what we should do better, what we should do more of, what we should do less of, etc. Number 3, goal, connecting with as many of you as I can to learn what you think SPJ is doing well and what we could be doing better. I'm specifically interested in our decline of overall membership, in our partnerships with other media advocacy groups, and in our efforts to promote and protect journalism on the legal front. And my final goal, continuing to advocate for a free and unfettered press and to push back against any and all attempts to restrict, contract, retract, or otherwise limit your rights as journalists, as citizens, to utilize the First Amendment. If you read or listened to the candidate material, you know I'm a lifer. I joined SPJ during my first year of college at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and except for a few lost baby years, I've been an active and engaged member ever since. I've been engaged as a leader in the Queen City chapter in Cincinnati on many fronts. I've organized programs and projects at the campus, local, regional, and national level, and I led the effort endorsed last year by delegates to downsize the national board from 23 to 16 to 9 next year. I joined SPJ back in 1980 to be in the company of other students turned on by journalism. 38 years later, after about 15 years in the newspaper world, and now 22 years teaching, I am still jazzed about journalism. SPJ allows me to engage and learn from people who do great journalism, celebrate great journalism, and work every day to promote and protect good journalism. I look forward to working with all of you in the months and years ahead.
Thank you, Patty. And now, candidates for Secretary Treasurer. We'll start with our first candidate, Matt Hall.
Hello, guys. I look around this room and I see a lot of people that I've worked closely with and admired from afar. Both of those things. I've been on the national board for 5 years. My name is Matt Hall, and I approved this message. No, it's a longer speech than that. I was president of the San Diego Pro chapter when we won Chapter of the Year in 2015, and it's one of the highlights of my SPJ career because it was a goal that a group of us worked on. It wasn't an individual honor. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind as we look around at the times that we live in and journalists are under attack. This is a kind of a perilous moment for journalism. It's a precarious moment for SPJ. We used to have 10,000 members 10 years ago. Now we have 6,500. That's a pretty steep drop. Kind of mirrors the decline in the industry, right? A lot of us in newsrooms, particularly, I've seen some of our comrades come and go over the last 10 years. I aim to help us all stop that. It's tough when you have politicians, one in particular who's calling us enemies of the people. A little bit about me. I'm in San Diego. I'm the editorial and opinion director of the Union Tribune. I was one of 350 or 400 editorial directors who wrote editorials on August 16th, a day which will live in infamy. And I have some copies of that editorial, which I hope to maybe hand some of you folks, because holding that thing is a powerful message. It sends a powerful message to not just the President of the United States, not just to other journalists, but to the public at large, who I think we need to work with a little more closely. And to that end, I have 3 goals. You can go to my website, votehallspj.com. I have some pens that have that, and my slogan, "A vote for Hall is a vote for all," on them. You may see them around. Do you guys know what pens are? How many of you guys know what pens are? Okay. My 3 goals: increase newsroom diversity, obviously super important. Increase media literacy, obviously super important. Increase journalism advocacy, also super important. If we can do those 3 things as an organization, we're going to get back to 10,000. We'll get even higher than that, and we'll all feel collectively good about it, as we should. This is important work that we do every day, and as an organization, you know, you can't get a better group of people rowing in one direction. Yeah, we disagree about some things. That's what makes us strong. We're going to do good work this year. We're going to do good work for many years to come. I look forward to working with you guys. Thanks.
Next, we'll hear from Narissa Young.
A friend of mine who's observed national politics for some time said people should not run for office unless they have goals for what they want to accomplish. That is why, after almost 30 years as an SPJ member, I am just now running for national board. I disagree with those who say journalism is dying because the news media landscape is changing and irrelevant because of attacks that journalists are purveyors of fake news. This is the most exciting time to be in journalism since the invention of the printing press. And the best days are ahead of us if we seize these opportunities. It's as important as ever for SPJ to lead professional development and make the case to the public that journalism matters. The current political situation has made journalism relevant again and awakened Americans. I see the protests and rallies as healthy things in a vibrant democracy, not cause for despair from journalists or the public. With a new executive director, we have the opportunity to form new relationships with other like-minded organizations. Those liaisons let us speak as a united and large voice on issues that affect the public's right to know and the practice of ethical journalism. I want to be part of the new governance structure to make sure our respective constituent groups continue to be represented at the national level. Initially, I did not support the change because of eliminating student representatives for obvious reasons with my background as a campus chapter advisor. I voted for it, and now I'd like to make it a success. Anyone running for national office is always asked the M question, membership. As I told John Ensslin in the podcast interview, I don't have a magic bullet, but I want to make sure SPJ serves well the members it already has. One thing we can do better is talk more about trauma and the effects it has on the journalists who cover it and the communities they serve. Since last year's convention, the U.S. has suffered from Hurricanes Maria, Irma, and Florence, Tropical Storm Lane, Subtropical Storm Alberto, 2 rounds of California wildfires, a volcanic eruption in Hawaii, the New England cyclone, a California mudslide, 5 killer tornadoes, 357 mass shootings, 1 terrorist attack, 1 fatal commercial airplane crash, the Austin package bombings, Massachusetts gas explosions, and the high-profile suicides of Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade. Yet only 1 of the 60 sessions on the schedule this weekend deals with covering trauma, and it was prompted by the shootings at the Capitol Gazette newsroom. If we fail to talk about trauma and prepare journalists to cover it and the unfolding stories in the months and years afterward, we are creating an injustice to our colleagues and the communities they cover. If we don't teach journalists how to responsibly and ethically cover suicide, we may be contributing to suicide contagion. If we don't teach journalists how to care for themselves, they will leave this profession for one that won't suck out their souls and send them right back into the fray. As journalists, we have an obligation to more than the collective viewers, readers, and listeners who populate our data analytics charts. We have an obligation to every single person each of those numbers represents. If elected as your secretary-treasurer, I will use my talent and energy to be a servant leader to help keep SPJ a leading organization to improve and protect journalism and our democracy. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you for your time, and let's have a great convention.
And now, candidates for director at large. We'll begin with candidates running for 2-year terms. Our first candidate is Tess Fox.
When I was recruiting for the University of Idaho student chapter last school year, I noticed many students didn't know what SPJ was. I think that's a problem. I found that once the benefits of SPJ were explained, students were excited to join. We know this because we went from 0 members to almost 20 members this year. Not only that, we're nominated for Chapter of the Year and Program of the Year. If SPJ is going to continue to lead the industry, we need to be better at engaging young journalists. I can help with this. Creating and supporting student chapters, in addition to connecting with recent graduates, will help SPJ create a strong future. When the candidate bios were sent out this summer, several people reached out to ask for help with their student chapters or to commiserate with the difficulty in rebuilding a student chapter. This demonstrates need for the changes I believe are important. As an at-large director serving a 2-year term, I would work with these existing committees to enact these changes. Thank you.
Our next candidate running for director at large for a 2-year term is Mike Riley.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Riley. And if you don't know already, I'm from Chicago. And there's an old saying in Chicago, if you need to dig up votes, just go to the cemetery. So it's nice to be able to come here and talk to everybody and not have to go to the cemetery and dig up votes. We don't do things that way here. I just wanted to thank a few people as we get started. Christina and Billy for putting everything together and putting our content up on the web. That's not the most fun job in the world. I say that as a digital producer and somebody who teaches digital journalism. Also wanted to thank John Ensel. Those podcasts were terrific. And Andy, who did all the heavy lifting with the Q&As. I think those really help educate our group on who's running and where we're coming from. So I appreciate that. A little bit about my background. I teach at the University of Illinois Chicago. I do data journalism and digital journalism. Taught for 16 years at UIC, Northwestern, ASU, and DePaul University, where I started their SPJ ONA chapter. I know many of you through the website journalisttoolbox.org. It's been housed the last 11 years at SPJ, and it's been around for 22 years now. I've been updating that sucker a long time. My background and where I'm coming from and why I wanted to come back to the board, I was actually on the board in 2014, 2015 as campus advisor at large. When I talked to Patty about coming back and joining the board again, we thought there was a big part of the future plan that we're developing, strategic plan, that needed some tech input, that also needed somebody that had strong teaching and training skills. And over the course of the last 2.5 years, I've been going around the country with the SPJ Google News Initiative program. I've trained more than 4,000 journalists in 26 states. I've been in more than 60 newsrooms, and almost 70. I'm thinking of 68 right now. I've seen the front lines. I've seen how bad things are. I've seen empty cubicles. I've seen people laid off between trainings when I come and go. And I see the help that they need from us. And I think we have to always remember that. And I'm going to say one thing here in closing that is really important. I detected, I've been coming to this conference for the last 11 years and a few years off and on before that, but I've detected a lot of tension at this year's conference. Who likes who doesn't like this person? Did we hire the right person? Did we do this right? Did we do that right? And I'm going to tell you something, that's not what inspires people. You want to know whose side I'm on journalism's side. So if that's what inspires you and you want to come along for the ride for the next few years, vote for me. If you don't, vote for the other guy. Thanks.
Hey, Robin Sherman, another candidate for director at large for a 2-year term, will speak next. Hi. Oh, there we go. Where are you? Behind me there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robin Sherman. I am a member of the Georgia chapter. I've only been a member of SPJ for 1 year. I'm a newbie, and I don't look that way, but that's because I spent 20 years or more working for a related journalism association by the name of the American Society of Business Publication Editors. It's a group of editors and writers and freelancers who work on trade magazines, which get short shrift often. But this is a trade magazine put out by the investigative reporters and editors. So there's some weight here. And a lot of the sources that you go to for specific industry information, you sometimes go to the editor of one of those trade magazines because they've got the data. Now with ASBPE, I've held for over 20 years numerous positions with them. I've been the executive director. I've been an associate executive director. I've been on their board. I've been the chair of their ethics committee. I've been the chair of the research committee. And I've been the chair of their program committee. And I've been their newsletter editor. And I've also worked closely with membership, increasing membership, and chapter outreach. A couple of highlights from ASBPE. I wrote the original draft of the ethics code, the National Ethics Code for ASBPE. And at the time that I wrote it, I thought that it was the most comprehensive code in all of journalism. And it was also sort of a how-to guide. I thought at the time that it was better than the SPJ. Since then, in the last year, I have left ASPPE because we've got a crisis in journalism that I want to be part of helping resolve. But the journalism code of SPJ makes my jaw drop because of the ancillary documents that go along with it. Now, I've also spent 35 years as a professional. I've been a corporate editorial director for a large business-to-business journalism publishing company. Had a multi-million-dollar budget that I was responsible for. I had 30 or more magazines and 100 editors I was responsible for, increasing the journalism standards. Most of all, I have the time to serve now because I'm not working full-time or even half-time or even quarter-time. I'm a freelancer who doesn't have very much work to do. My work now is as a volunteer in journalism and improving it. There are a lot of ideas out there that I agree with everything almost everybody has said, but my biggest deal is trust building, and I think that our news organizations need a lot of work amongst themselves. We have to admit we have a problem of our own making, much of it, and there's also a lot of news literacy that we've got to teach the public. And I want to be involved with that. I've got a lot of experience with all of that. And I haven't heard the orchestra. Is the orchestra about ready? Okay, thank you. Please look for me on LinkedIn and my flyer.
Finally, we'll hear from Mercedes Vigon, another candidate for Director at Large, a 2-year term.
Oops. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. You consider this afternoon. As a new voice in SPJ, it is important for me to serve because it is what I do. I have always worked as a bridge of understanding. I have the luxury of time to reflect and to develop new training guidance. I am not a full-time journalist anymore. I prepare young professionals, young journalists for the field, and I support them during their careers. If elected on the board, I will continue to do what I do, advocating, training, generating grant proposals. My goal will be reaching out and winning the trust of more diverse sets of groups. I am comfortable in the National Association of Hispanic Journalism. That's where everybody knows me, where I feel at home. But it's only a small bubble in the big mountain. We need more alliance and collaboration. Every association should be brainstorming to find solutions or to establish protocols to collaborate with each other. And this can be done in the times required that we figure out how to create a more inclusive network where everybody's invited and journalists react as one when needed. Thank you.
Now let's hear from the candidates running for 1-year Director at Large terms. First up, Michael Savino.
I'll keep my remarks short because there's only 2 of us running for 2 seats. But I did want to say that one of the goals that I have, I want to echo what Narissa was saying about the need for more mental health training and awareness in our industry. She highlighted a lot of reasons why, but I also want to point out that research has found that journalists are just as susceptible to PTSD as the people we cover. So if you cover, cops and fire, or if you're a war correspondent, you're just as susceptible to post-traumatic stress disorder as the people that you're covering. Even doing something as talking to, sexual assault victims on a repeated basis, that can cause stress and problems for journalists. So, I'd like to see SPJ do something akin to what we've done with ethics. It certainly doesn't have to be to that degree, but just coming up with basically a list of best practices, perhaps trying to find a partnership. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's organizations like DART Center that are already out there doing this research and putting this information out there so we can partner with them to create something and get it out with our membership. The other thing I just want to say real quick is, you know, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but just stress to everybody the importance of voting, especially as we go to a slimmed down model for our board. It's just very important that everybody vote, make sure that the board is representative of where you want our organization to go. With membership declining, it's very important that, you know, the board represents where we want the organization to go. So please stress everybody the importance of voting over the next couple of days. Thank you.
Our final candidate for Director at Large 1 year is Yvette Walker.
Thank you. I'm Yvette Walker. I'm a candidate for a 1 year at large board seat, and I'm assistant dean at the College of Journalism at the University of Oklahoma. I witnessed transformative times in our industry, transformative times. I just heard today that my old newspaper was bought out at the Oklahoman, and a lot of friends have lost their jobs. I've been texting them today. But as a reporter, copy editor, supervising editor, ombudsman, web content producer, and newsroom senior advisor, the jobs and titles may have changed, the delivery platforms may have changed, but through it all, the mission of SPJ remains of utmost importance to our industry, and that is the perpetuation of a free press as the cornerstone of our nation. During my career in newsrooms across the country, I've done what SPJ advocates, ethically publishing important issues in my communities. I've specialized in teaching news ethics and was the ethics chair at the University of Central Oklahoma. I now teach ethics at OU. SPJ's next focus must be on telling its own story and recruiting new members while retaining existing ones. What makes SPJ important and different than other media organizations? How does SPJ cut through the noise of those who criticize media? And we've heard a lot of that this season. How does it energize and identify with today's journalists? There's no easy answer, but we can begin. We can begin by reaching out to people who love this industry but perhaps have not been active in SPJ, by convincing them their time is now to be a part of the conversation. And this certainly includes a large freelance writing community, many of whom are post-news career but still very much engaged. We can begin to look beyond our borders and consider opening more international chapters. Global membership is a mostly untapped area. And we must begin by developing our student chapters, where we have some of our most passionate members, some of whom are in this room today. We need to raise them up to be future SPJ leaders. SPJ asked the candidates to tell their best moment or achievement in journalism. And I said, I'm a coach, I'm not one to look for the spotlight, but I'd like to tell you about a moment that I just always remember. And that was spending a long evening in the home of a Gary, Indiana family whose daughter was missing and potentially a victim of a serial killer. Police had found a body in Detroit, and a family member flew out to identify it. So the family allowed me to stay with them, awaiting the phone call that would say whether or not it was their daughter. And it was. I've often wondered why they let me do that. A young reporter be a part of one of the most important nights of their lives, and I think it was because they trusted me to tell the story of their daughter, alive or dead. And today, due to the mistrust in media, I'm not sure that would have happened, and that's a shame. But I'm committed to helping build trust between the public and the news media once again. I believe SPJ can play a strong role in this, and I want to help if you'll let me. Thank you.
Hey, thank you to all the candidates. So your delegate information sheet contains information about submitting resolutions for consideration by the convention. Our resolutions committee chairman is Tom McKee. If you or your chapter has resolutions for consideration that have not already been submitted to the committee, please do so. Send them as a Word document attached to tmckee@wcpo.com before 8 p.m. tonight. Again, that's tmckee, TMCKEE, @wcpo.com SPJ.com. And so Tom, if Tom is here right now, he's over here. So if you want to, do you want to say a few words about people wanting to submit resolutions? Yeah, just come on up.
The committee this afternoon went over, we have 10 resolutions that we're in the process of finalizing in our committee meeting tomorrow. We certainly would accept any and all from delegates or delegates. Anybody can submit them now, correct? Any member? Delegates, is it? Any member, okay, I just wanted to double check. It used to be only delegates, and I believe we changed that. Okay, any member can submit them on any particular cause you think would be important for SPJ to take a stand in. So if you see me or use the email address, send them along and we'll give them consideration at committee and then have them for delegate review on Saturday. Thank you.
Okay. So the resolution proposals will be available Saturday morning after 11 a.m. Delegates should stop by the EIJ registration desk to pick up a copy prior to voting during the business session Saturday afternoon. Resolution proposals will also be available via the EIJ18 app in the closing business section within the schedule view. So before we adjourn, I'd like to take a moment to present some special awards to our chapters around the country for their outstanding work this year. SPJ Circle of Excellence Awards honors chapters, both large and small, in 5 key categories: First Amendment and Freedom of Information activity, campus relations and scholarship activities, activities promoting diversity among journalists, professional development, and continuing education programs. I'm happy to announce the winners this year, and I hope you'll join me in applauding all their incredible efforts. To the winning chapters, please stand to be recognized as I call your name. Following the meeting today, please see Christine Cordial to pick up your certificates. For professional development and education, the Society recognizes the Washington, D.C. Pro chapter as the large chapter and Arkansas Pro as the small chapter. In the category of freedom of information, the large chapter winner is Oregon Territory Pro, and the small chapter winner is Utah Headliners. For special efforts in the area of diversity, we recognize large chapter, San Diego Pro, and a small chapter, Greater Cincinnati Pro. Lastly, in the category of campus relations, the Society applauds the efforts of large chapter recipient, Washington, D.C. Pro, and small chapter recipient, St. Louis Pro. Congratulations to each of the Circle of Excellence winners. Now, each year, the Society honors 2 chapters, a large chapter of 75 members or more, and a small chapter with fewer than 75 members for their commitment to SPJ's mission and exceptional chapter programming. This year, we're going to recognize a runner-up for both the large and small chapter of the year. The large chapter runner-up is Florida Pro. Could officers of the chapter please make their way to the stage? A perennial favorite, the Florida Pro chapter once again offered spectacular programming in a variety of formats, from its fake news game show, which took it on the road to journalists as far away as Dallas, to its Abuse in the Newsroom webinar, to Femme Freelance Fest, planned and hosted entirely by women, and a training session for high school journalists to learn how to use a drone for journalism. This chapter used technology and innovative approaches to support the main pillars of SPJ. Congratulations again. And now for the winner of the large chapter division. I'm pleased to announce in the large chapter category, the 2018 chapter of the year is San Diego Pro. Could officers of the chapter please make their way to the stage while I highlight some of the great things you've accomplished this year. The San Diego chapter was selected based on its varied and extensive programming promoting diversity, ethics, and First Amendment education. It hosted a notable 17 programs with varied focuses. The chapter mentored students and awarded them thousands of dollars, both locally and in hurricane-ravaged Houston. It advocated for the freedom of information by holding accountable several major local institutions, the City of San Diego, the San Diego School System, and the San Diego County District Attorney's Office with a report card on the media. Supporting SPJ's commitment to diversity, the chapter hosted a panel on women in journalism, 2 mixers with diverse journalism groups, and a scholarship for journalism college student of color. It held professional development workshops for journalists, and perhaps most importantly, at a time when the term fake news is being used as a weapon in our industry, it began holding a series of workshops in partnerships with the San Diego Public Library to help members and the public understand the role of journalism and to distinguish real news from fake news. Let's give the San Diego chapter a big round of applause for all their exceptional work. In the small chapter division, the runner-up for 2018 Chapter of the Year is Cincinnati Pro. Could the chapter send its officers to the stage, please? Once again, the Greater Cincinnati Pro chapter's programming was impressive and illustrated its engagement in SPJ's mission. Its 24 programs involved SPJ members, citizens, and partnerships with the Public Relations Society of America, the National Association of Black Journalists, the Online News Association, and the Voice of America Museum. Commitment to diversity, ethics, FOI, advocacy, and chapter communications were embedded in their programs. But the chapter's efforts in connecting with students is absolutely remarkable. Lunch with Pros events, high school workshops, and reporting boot camps, Google training, and special guest events were all carried out this year. The chapter worked with the Cincinnati Police on an SPJ transparency project and public record request seminars, and even hosted a mayoral candidate debate. As the judges observe, they aren't just the host-to-speaker panel discussion kind of chapter. Congratulations for all your hard work and your accomplishments this year. And in the small chapter category, the winner of the 2018 Chapter of the Year is Arkansas Pro. Could the chapter send their officers to the stage? The Arkansas Pro chapter took on a lot this year and executed it beautifully. As Regional Director Kelly Kissel put it, these idiots hosted the regional conference, which is never fun, except they dubbed it the Life and Death Journalism Conference and added a pub crawl. In addition to the conference, the chapter's programming supported SPJ's 3 pillars masterfully. It hosted a public event critiquing the media coverage of the Little Rock Nine 60 years later, with a few of the adult children of the Little Rock Nine in attendance. It funded scholarships and hosted an innovative program that engaged high school and college journalism students in a participatory faux funeral, for which the students conducted mock interviews and wrote death notices for cash awards. Ethics, FOI, diversity, and service were major focuses of this active, vibrant, successful chapter. Congratulations to Arkansas Pro as they continue to produce great work on behalf of SPJ and journalists everywhere. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize other outstanding chapters. Though they were not selected as Chapter of the Year, their efforts are top-notch and should not go unnoticed. Chapter of the Year finalists were the Chicago Headline Club, Fort Worth Pro, Georgia Pro, Utah Headliners, and Washington, D.C. Pro. They were among a long list of chapters that have gone above and beyond to improve the quality of journalism and to help protect what we believe in. Congratulations again to all the chapters on a fantastic year. To our finalists, please again see Program Coordinator Christine Cordial at the close of the meeting to pick up your certificates. Now you have heard about the business items for consideration during the convention. Unless there are other business items that should come before this opening session, we shall adjourn until Saturday afternoon. A glance at the program will show you that there are great things in store for the conference. The Planning Committee and the staffs of SPJ and RTDNA have worked incredibly hard to bring you training and networking opportunities, so be sure to take advantage of them. As a reminder, members in good standing will receive an electronic ballot via email at the close of this meeting. If you have any questions about the electric process or the ballot, see Christine Cordial or email elections@spj.org. Call or text 765-734-0817 for assistance. Again, that's elections@spj.org or 765-734-0817. If you're serving as a chapter delegate, please sure to pick up your delegate information sheet at the registration desk at J Expo. We'll see you all at the next business meeting on Saturday at 1:30. May I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? See you Saturday.